Chapter 8, it talks about giving examples. One of the examples of supporting ideas, I thought it was great to be brief but specific to illustrate a point. I thought that was interesting, not to go into so much detail, but to give an example that's brief but something that is pretty clear. Also, I liked the hypothetical answers. I think a lot of us can relate to something that is kind of a fictitious thing or just something to illustrate a point. If you are talking to a bunch of people that are cyclists, then you give an example of some kind of bike part or something like that and how that operates. I mean, people can relate to stuff like that. I think that it gathers their attention to do something like that, to kind of deter maybe if your speech isn't so great, or if people have to be there. I think that it would be more interesting to do hypotheticals. Also, one thing that I read in here, I thought it was pretty interesting, and I'm going to quote it. It says, as far as doing a statistic, which is a numeric data, I think that it's funny that the guy said, when you can measure what you're speaking about and express it in numbers, then you know something about it. I thought that was pretty interesting, that if you take the time to do the research and try to do your statistics, that you know something about the subject that you're speaking about, to be specific and to use that, or to make people understand like the impact of something that you're speaking about. I thought that was interesting as well. Also, another thing that keeps coming back, and I think it was also in previous chapters, that quoting someone is very important. Say that you have something that you got from a magazine or from a book, that it's very important to orally quote that person. My pastors, they do it all the time. They'll say a quote that's very, very profound, and then they'll say, but before they say that, they'll say, hey, this came from John Piper's Don't Waste Your Life, and then he does a quote on that. And I really like that, because then it'll say, hey, I think that guy has some pretty interesting stuff. I think I'm going to check it out. But that makes it a little bit more credible, and it also gives the writer the credit for the research that they've done and what they've written.